Hey guys, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking through my reading and channel goals for 2025. So this is the end of almost my first full year on Booktube. I started my channel. It was kind of like a little bit of a New Year's resolution for me last year, and I started it in the end of January. So we're almost at 1 year. I'm definitely going to post a video about that, trust me. And I don't have any goals that I set. I was just like, let's see what happens. Let's see how it's going to go. Let's see what it does to my reading. Let's see if I like it. Let's see. And now, this year, almost a year in, I think it's time for me to talk about my goals. I'm going to start out by talking about my general reading goals for the year. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about some channel goals. So we're going to start out with my general reading goal. I am on track to read, I think probably about somewhere between 115 and 120 books for this year, which is higher than I read last year. Last year I read 104, but I'm pretty good if I'm kind of like consistently reading to read about 100 books. So I'm going to set my reading goal at 100 books. I'm not doing pages or anything like that. I know books it's a super inaccurate measure of how much you've actually read, especially because this year I've read a lot of really long books, so it probably isn't super accurate because like every one of those Brandon Sanderson novels that I read is at least 3 books, possibly 4. But that's what we're going to go with because I find that the most satisfying to track. So 100 books, hopefully going to get through it. It's not a big deal if I don't. It's just something to aim for. So then I have to talk about the series that I have been reading. I only finished 1 series this past year, and I started something like 24 new ones. And that's a lot, and I'm not going to stop starting series. So I think that what I need to do is set a goal that I need to either finish, catch up, or DNF 10 series this year. I think that's probably doable. I mean, and I can already think of several books that are coming out. You know, Emily Wilde is coming out. That'll be a finished series in February. I'll be able to catch up on the next book in the Shadow of the Leviathan, the Robert Jackson Bennett series. That's coming out this year. Several that I'll be able to catch up on. And am I going to count those? Probably. But I'm also planning on starting some new series. So I'm not maybe going to get ahead, but I would like to slow the bleed a little bit of having all of these unfinished series. Another goal that I have this year is to track my reading in a reading journal. And that's something that is very, very new to me, but I have gotten a little bit obsessed in the last month or two with watching people create reading journals online. Now, I would say that I mean, I'm artistic, but I'm not like drawing artistic. I can follow directions and I can draw something if I'm copying it exactly, but I would not say that I'm a master at that. But I am excited to have something in paper to be able to keep my reading in that is completely offline, because I have gotten really overwhelmed with tracking tools this year. I have a spreadsheet that I keep for myself that has a lot of statistics in it. I will probably continue to keep that. I have my Goodreads, which I don't like having because I don't like Goodreads, but I have to keep it because I review all my arcs there, and that's important. I have the Story Graph, which I would like to use more, but probably will not. Barely used it this year. And then I'm also on Fable. So I have all of those things. And Fable I have like barely used. I just don't have time. I don't have time to track my reading in like 5 different places. Oh, and I also have a Notion with all of my reading in it, which is where I track the books that I own and things like that. So it's just like, it's a lot to keep up with. And I would like one thing that does not involve me getting on the computer. So I'm going to try to start a reading journal this year. And I will, once I have it set up, I'm going to do a little video about it. Don't expect amazing level artwork because that's probably not going to happen. But I am hoping it's going to be a great tool. Another goal I have this year is to read more nonfiction. And I'm going to keep this really basic because I only read 3 nonfiction books this year, and one of them was self-help. I would like to read 6 nonfiction books that are not self-help in the year 2025. So that's about 1 every 2 months, and I'm hoping that's going to be doable. I struggle with nonfiction. I always enjoy it. Well, I sometimes enjoy it when I read it. I want to be informed about things. I certainly want to learn about things, but I sometimes don't finish nonfiction. For a while I was doing them as audiobooks, and that was working better for me. So maybe that's something I need to go back to, since I don't really listen to audiobooks for fiction. Maybe that could just be my new thing. We'll see. So I want to talk about genres. I read a real variety of genres. I read, science fiction, fantasy, mystery, literary fiction. I read nonfiction, obviously not as much as I want to, but I read like a fairly broad variety of things, I would say. But this year I would like to set a goal, not a number goal, but just a general goal, to read more literary fiction because I've been really enjoying that. I just finished reading James by Percival Everett, which I really loved, which is the second literary fiction novel that I've read this month, actually. And I think I'd just like to read more. And I'd like to read some of the things that I haven't read because I am sometimes intimidated by literary fiction. I always think it's going to be super hard to understand. And then I get in there and I read it and it's not. So I don't know why I think that, but I want to get over it this year. So I want to read more literary fiction. The other thing I want to do is get back into mysteries. I was a mystery reader from way back. I started out with Nancy Drew, then I moved on to Agatha Christie, and then I moved on to whatever I could find in the library to check out. And I kind of quit reading mysteries. I think a lot of that is because it got harder to find new mysteries that were not thrillers. I am not a thriller person. I don't like a twist. It's just not my thing. I don't like them. And it was hard for a long time to find mysteries, but it seems like we are getting to a place where we're able to have more mysteries that are good, that are not just cozy mysteries, which are fun sometimes too, but they're not really the most serious things. I just read How to Solve Your Own Murder, which I would say is an example of the kind of mysteries that I want to read. And I also want to get into reading some more classic mysteries. I'm going to read some of my Agatha Christie's, but I also want to read some classic mystery authors that I've never read, which I know there are so many. So that's a goal that I am definitely really excited about for this year. Next, I want to read from my shelves. I have managed to acquire a few books this year, which is fine and something that I am happy about because I started out with actually having very few physical books, and now I have a collection that I can read from whenever I want, and I really enjoy that. But I need to remember to read the ones I haven't read yet. And to this end, I would like to prioritize my physical TBR as always, and I try. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a challenge, and we're going to start it in January. I'm going to randomly pick one of the books that I have unread on my physical TBR each month for myself to read. They wouldn't be on there if I didn't want to read them, but sometimes I think I don't pick them, and we're going to see how that goes. I don't like doing a whole lot of random picks. I've tried to do it before, and it really demotivated me from reading, but I feel like one is doable. So I'm going to try and maybe get a big jar and write them all down and draw one once a month. I think that'll be a fun addition to my TBR game. And then I would like to complete my reading challenges. My primary reading challenge is the Our Fantasy Bingo Challenge. As we sit right now, I think I only have 4 prompts to complete it, and it runs from April through April. So it's actually not almost over yet, and in April we'll start a new one. But I do want to participate in Buzzwordathon, which is created by Books and Lala this year. I think that's really fun. It's like you read one book a month that has to match a buzzword for that month, and I think that's doable. I think that that is something that is going to be easy to just kind of pull something from my regular TBR. So I want to do that. And then I'm also going to create for myself an alphabet challenge where I'm just trying to read a book that starts with each letter of the alphabet. I may have to get creative toward the end of the year and start counting things that just have the letter in there somewhere for some of them. There's probably not a lot of books that start with Q, and that's fine. And if I don't finish that one, I'm not going to be mad, but I'm going to put it in my reading journal, and I think it sounds like a fun thing to track. Okay, so that is the end of my reading goals for 2025. And next year, I promise, I will revisit this video and see how I did. Hopefully well. Hopefully. We'll see. And then I have channel goals. So I really like the idea of having goals, of having something that I'm kind of working on to improve on throughout the year. So I made some goals for my channel. Some of them are kind of broader and some of them are very, very specific, and I'm just going to talk through them. My first goal is to post 2 times a week. I have gotten away from that a little bit. I was doing really good for a while, and I got away from it because I had some stuff happen with my daily commute that added a lot of time to it, and I felt like I didn't have time. But I will tell you that the experience of doing Bookmas has taught me that you can find time if you want to find time. Like I can spend an hour editing a video at night. It's not the end of the world. What am I doing? I'm like scrolling on my phone. I don't need to be scrolling on my phone. So 2 times a week, I would like to post a video. We will see. We will see. I want it to be fun. I don't want it to be stressful, but I'm going to do my best. And then as a personal goal, Something I've already been working on that I've not always been entirely successful on, I think, is trying to work to eliminate the connector words in my speech. There are some things that I do that everyone does that are just kind of crutch words that you use when you don't know what to say. Mine are ums, ers, likes. But for me, the really big one that I like to do is I like to say okay. I like to say okay. And I notice it because I'll watch my videos back and I'll go, oh, stop doing that. And I want to work on it. And I've been working on it. I'm working on slowing it down. And if I don't know what to say, taking a pause. And that, you know, I spent years doing theater and I certainly should know that that's the thing that you do. But I think it's very different inhabiting a character and being on the stage and reading lines that were written for you, as opposed to having to think through what you want to say in the moment. I also want to try to vlog consistently. And for me, consistently means I want to do 2 vlogs a month. So 2 of those second videos each week are going to be vlogs. So that gives me about a week for each one. And I enjoy doing a vlog. I have found, especially during Vlogmas, that is a little bit more open-ended, that is a little bit more just like, I'm going to film what's going on. I'm going to talk about my book updates, but I'm not going to make it into a big deal. I'm not going to make it into something that is stressful, that I feel like I have to get to a certain place before I can stop. And we're going to see. I have done some themed vlogs before. I'm not like a super huge fan of a themed vlog if it makes me read something that I didn't want to read in the first place. Like, I just want to film my life and my reading life, even if I think it's boring, just to kind of like put that out there because it's something I enjoy and it's a skill that I want to get better at. And then I also want to work really, really hard to ignore my statistics and not compare myself to other people. And I think that if we are honest, those of us who are on Booktube, I mean, that is just a thing that you do. It is hard not to look at those things or not to say, you know, why is this hard for me? Why is this video doing so terribly? You know, like that kind of thing. But I think that ultimately, you know, the things that I have enjoyed so much about my experience on Booktube so far, it's been, you know, the recommendations I've gotten, the challenges I've been in, the friends that I have made. I mean, it's been such a enrichment to my life in a lot of ways that has nothing to do with that. And I have to remind myself that this is not a competition. And I'm going to do better. And to that end, I do want to make a real effort to join in the community. I am such an introvert. And I feel like, I was just saying, I feel like ever since COVID and quarantine, it's like I have forgotten entirely how to talk to people or how to interact with people. And so I just don't. And I want to be sure to comment on people's videos because I watch them and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't comment. But now I can't comment because it's been too long. Comment on videos, join in read-alongs, join in challenges, do the tags, and all the things that make the community so great. That's something that I really want to set as a goal for myself this year because I think that's going to really enrich my experience here. And finally, this is my last thing. Remember that reading is fun. Reading is fun. We're here because we love books and we love reading. And all that other stuff is just noise, right? And to that end, I made like a little mini list of things and I said, want to DNF that book? Do it. Life is too short. And there are no DNF police that are going to come for you and tell you that you need to keep reading that book. And you are not going to regret quitting. I promise. Want to start a new series? Why not? Doesn't matter. Your life can always use more characters, more new adventures, more things to learn about. I mean, come on. There is no shame in having 100 series going at the same time. And then read what you want. Read it even if it's not going to be good for content. Read that series, read that old book, read that 9th book in a series that nobody besides you has ever read because you want to read it, because that, again, is why we're all here. And finally, this is for me personally. If you want to read every new release that comes out in 2025, well, you know what? That's just fine. Because I feel like I did that last year, and I feel like it was great. And I'm not going to feel bad for getting to those books instead of the ones that are on my backlist. That was a lot of goals. That was a lot of things. I'm sure I'm not going to keep up with all of them, but I feel like the intentional act of setting those goals is so helpful. They're not resolutions. This is not my New Year's resolution. These are just things that I feel like would enrich my life and enrich my experience here on Booktube. And so I think that's the end of the video. I hope that you will leave in the comments for me a goal that you have, whether it's in your reading life or your Booktube life if you have a channel. And I hope that you all have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.